taught me to be what we call in our Shawn Ryan the silent leader. That like that's what good leadership looks like. Like you would look at someone like Jocko and think Jocko's in charge. Jocko's a prior enlisted SEAL. Jocko's got more combat experience than anybody else here, so he's going to dictate everything and run everything and tell you what to do. And he did the complete opposite. He said, "Hey, here's the goal. Why don't you come up with a plan and tell me how you want to do it?" And Jocko also he used what we call the indirect approach, which is. But Jocko really set the tone for our entire team, and of like, hey, right away he was like, we're not tasking a Bravo, we're tasking a Bruiser. And I was like, so we had 3 task units, A, B, C, right? Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, in the phonetic alphabet. And I was like, I thought that was weird for like 24 hours, I'm like tasking a Bruiser. And then like 24 hours later, we're like, we're tasking a Bruiser. So like it was actually, I learned later, this is something that he got from a book by a U.S. Army, a retired colonel named David Hackworth called About Face. And if you haven't read this book, it is a phenomenal, phenomenal book. Hackworth joined the Army when he was a private. He lied on his paperwork, enlisted when he was 17 to try to make it into World War II, just missed World War II, but was brought up through the ranks as, had learned from all his mentors who had just defeated the Germans and Japanese in World War II. And then he served in Korea and was eventually, commissioned as an officer, made it up to colonel, multiple deployments to Korea, multiple deployments to Vietnam. I think he was when he died in the early 2000s. I think it might have been while we were deployed to Iraq that first time. And I think he was the highest, the most decorated like living soldier at the time.
Wow.
I'm in like crazy awards, but like they call him like Mr. Infantry, and so much of he changed the names of his units.
Interesting.
To give them like a personality.
Task Unit Bruiser is like a legendary unit, and you don't hear. Look, there's no other task unit that has a call sign that I'm aware of. You hear people talk about Task Unit Bruiser all over the place. I don't know a whole lot about it other than the reputation, but I mean, it seems like you guys have really created or did create like some type of like very strong culture in that platoon.
The culture was massively strong, in our platoon, Charlie platoon, and Delta platoon, SAS platoon, and the entire task unit. And, those 2 60-man SEAL platoons and a 5-man headquarters element that Jocko was in charge of that we started out with. And he set the tone right from the beginning, like we're tasking a Bruiser. We're gonna work harder than everybody else. We're gonna train harder than everybody else. We're gonna be ready for the worst case scenarios, on the battlefield. And that was the culture of our team. And what's interesting about Jocko is you look at him and he's got this like super stern kind of look to him. But he actually, and even though he didn't smile at us for the first couple months that we worked together, in fact, the first time we were all training jiu-jitsu. We'd come in at 5 o'clock in the morning and train jiu-jitsu. He'd lay mats out in the high bay at SEAL Team 3. It was mandatory for all the officers, and we had a bunch of enlisted guys that would come in and train too. And you could tell us at officers' call, the morning meeting, because you'd say, if you said like, hey, Leif, or hey, Seth, like everyone would kind of turn their head like their whole body because their necks are all like jacked up because we're like cranking on each other and hurting each other, and everyone's going just full bore level 19 berserker mode. But the first time that I realized that Jocko was like actually, not super serious all the time. Like he's like demoing a jiu-jitsu move at 5 o'clock in the morning. We're in the high bay. He's like, Babin, get over here. He's like, grab my hand. Yeah. My other hand. Yeah. My other hand. And then he's like, bow to your sensei. Bow to your sensei. And I'm like, wait, that's Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
He's quoting Rex Kwon Do from Napoleon Dynamite, but he's doing it with a straight face. And he's not like, he doesn't even smile. And I'm like, okay, this dude's joking around. So like, that was the first time I got to see, Jocko, who's totally jokes around all the time, and is obviously professional when he needs to. But what Jocko did for us was, I think, channel like aggression and guys that wanted to go get after it into like, he really taught me to be what we call in our Shawn Ryan the silent leader. That like that's what good leadership looks like. Like you would look at someone like Jocko and think Jocko's in charge. Jocko's a prior enlisted SEAL. Jocko's got more combat experience than anybody else here, so he's going to dictate everything and run everything and tell you what to do. And he did the complete opposite. He said, "Hey, here's the goal. Why don't you come up with a plan and tell me how you want to do it?" And it was the first time that I saw like we'd roll out on operations where he doesn't say anything. He's letting the team run it. So I realized that's what I need to do as a leader is let my team step up and lead. And so when my team is leading, now I can look up and out, right? Every leader should be trying to look up and out down the road. Not you. So instead of me solving the immediate tactical problem, I'm thinking about the next step and the next step and the next step beyond that. And you're thinking about the long-term strategic problems, down the road. And that's what every leader should be trying to do. And, Jocko also, he used what we call the indirect approach, which is, instead of saying, hey, listen, I had one platoon under my belt, I had a handful of combat operations. I had 0 DA missions, right? Capture kill raids at that point, 0. Seth had done a couple of them. I'd done a handful of sniper operations, but I didn't really have any experience. And, but instead of saying, for us, when the training detachment instructors, who obviously drive a very high standard of performance, when they would say things like, hey, you guys are good to go. You met the standard. We're out here at land warfare. Okay, your patrol's good to go. Hey, your immediate action drills when react to contract and, those are good to go. Hey, you guys can take it back to the camp. Instead of Jocko saying like, you knuckleheads aren't as good as you think you are. Combat's harder than you think it is. We're going to keep pushing the standard even higher. We're going to do this again. He actually just called us over and he said, hey, Leif, Stoner, do you think we're ready for the worst case scenario on the battlefield? And we looked at each other and we're like, no, man, no, let's do another run. Let's do another run after that. Let's do 3 more runs. And it was us doing it. If we'd have said yes, he would have been cool. Sounds good. Let's go back to the camp. But he would ask us an earnest question, right? A question that he wanted the answer to, and let us reveal the truth of ourselves. And I think it's such a powerful leadership concept. Instead of, this works on your kids, right? This works with your spouse, with members of your community, with your team at work, anywhere in life. When you can ask someone a question and allow them to reveal the truth to themselves instead of trying to just bash them over the head with the truth. Because what good is telling people the truth if they don't listen? But when you can ask someone a question like that, now it's not Jocko saying do 2 more runs and everyone's complaining about it. It's actually me saying we need to do 2 more runs so that we're ready for that worst case scenario and talking that over with my platoon so they understand it as well. And I think that was the kind of culture that became part of the team of like, hey, we have to be ready for the absolute worst case scenario that we might come up against. And so I think it was a culture of always striving to do better. And immediately, I think what set our task unit apart was, in my previous task unit, it was kind of like most SEAL task units where we had some really talented people. We had some experienced people. We did some things well. We did some things not so well. But the things that we didn't do well, when training detachment would say, hey, you should improve on this, there was pushback. We were kind of like, I'd like to see them do better. Yeah, we're good to go. We'll play the game and just get through this and get overseas. And in Task Unit Bruiser, it wasn't like that. We were our own harshest critic. It was really critiquing ourselves. And when the training instructor said, hey, look, your head counts are taking too long. You need to figure out a way to be more efficient. We're like, absolutely, let's figure this out. Let's work on that. And we were our own harshest critic. We were always trying to get better and improve all the time. And that became the culture of the team. Whether you're a brand new guy, that was trying to contribute in some way to, managing your fire team, all the way up to me as the platoon commander, to Jocko as the task unit commander, and figuring out ways to be more efficient and effective all the time. And I think that's the strength of the SEAL teams, right? Is always that innovation, that I like always trying to get better in what we're trying to do, always trying to improve and seeking inputs from everybody, no matter if they're in a leadership position or if they're simply just a shooter, who's in charge of just themselves and their piece of the mission. I think when that becomes the culture of the team, that makes all the difference. You got a team that's constantly improving, constantly learning, constantly growing. We made all kinds of mistakes in Task Unit Bruiser. We screwed all kinds of stuff up. But we learned from those mistakes and we would implement solutions to try to fix them and prevent them from happening going forward.